Fox News Podcasts presents the Bret Baier Podcast with Fox News Chief Political Anchor Bret Baier.
The Republican coalition is broad and strong and growing. Mr. President, the American people handed President Trump and Senate Republicans a decisive victory. And now the real work begins, delivering on our agenda.
Well, Senate Republicans have selected South Dakota's John Thune to be the next majority leader of the Senate. Thune serving as minority whip in the current Congress. He joins us tonight. Senator, congratulations.
Thanks. Great to be with you, Brett.
So this is a lot happening. The breaking news today was Robert Kennedy Jr. Being selected as the nominee for President Trump for HHS. First, your reaction to that?
Well, I mean, these are exciting times, obviously, right? The president got a big mandate. The American people want change in this country. They're tired of the Biden, Harris, Schumer agenda, and they want President Trump to fix some things. And he wants to get a team in place that can do that. And we're going to work with him to see that he gets his team installed as quickly as possible so he can implement his agenda. All these people have a process that they have to go through. All these nominees are, advise and consent. That's the Senate's constitutional role when it comes to confirmation of nominations to the executive branch of the government. And we take that role seriously, but we also are not going to allow the Democrats to obstruct or block President Trump and the will of the American people.
So you've said that you would do recess appointments if it came to that. What's the threshold for getting to that point for recess appointments?
Well, what I said is, Brett, and I think this is that all options are on the table, including recess appointments. Hopefully it doesn't get to that, but we'll find out fairly quickly whether the Democrats want to play ball or not. And I think part of it is getting these folks. We'll start having confirmation hearings as soon as the new Senate is sworn in January. President takes the oath of office January 20th. By the time he takes the oath of office, hopefully a lot of those nominees will be through their confirmation hearings and will be ready to act on them on the Senate floor. And then it's a question of how much do the Democrats resist or object or try to block those nominations from going forward. And we're going to grind them out. I mean, we're just going to keep consistently moving, and we'll see what kind of cooperation we get. And then we'll, like I said, we'll make decisions about where do we go from there.
Right, but for example, on the Health Committee, you have Senator Collins, Senator Murkowski. They've already raised concerns about RFK Jr., I think. When you have Matt Gaetz, there's already some Republicans who have spoken out and said some things. The numbers start to get problematic if that is a problem, and your onus for you is to try to get the president who he wants to be in the cabinet. Do you then punt to a recess and try to recess the Senate for 10 days and get those appointments in?
Well, it's an option, but obviously it takes, you have to have all Republicans vote to recess as well. So the same Republicans that you mentioned that might have a problem voting for somebody under regular order probably also have a problem voting to put the Senate into recess. You have to have concurrence from the House. There's a process. All this is a process. But I don't think any of those things are necessarily off the table. I think we have to have all the options on the table. And these nominees deserve their day in court. They deserve a hearing, a confirmation hearing, an opportunity to be vetted, and the Senate will perform its constitutional role under advice and consent. But we are not going to allow the Democrats to thwart the will of the American people in giving President Trump the people that he wants in those positions to implement his agenda.
When it comes to Matt Gaetz for AG, obviously there was a House ethics investigation ongoing, and that report was scheduled to come out. He's now resigned. We don't know what's going to happen. Would you say that report is going to factor into his hearings?
Well, my guess is at some point it gets out there. I mean, I'm not sure exactly what that process is at the moment, but these confirmation hearings, they are fairly comprehensive in terms of the vetting process that nominees go through. So I can't speak to that specifically, Brett, at the moment, but I wouldn't. I think we'll have to see, but I wouldn't rule out the possibility of that happening.
I mean, there could be some fireworks here coming up. This is not going to be easy.
No, none of this is going to be easy. But again, the President Trump had a huge mandate from the American people. Not only the popular vote, the electoral vote, they were historic. And the people in this country want change. He wants to bring that about. And I always believe that you defer to a president when it comes to the people they want in their cabinet and to do a lot of these important jobs. But obviously there is a process whereby we get down and scrub all these nominees and figure out whether or not, one, they're qualified, and are they people who are fit to hold these offices.
You spoke with Speaker Johnson today. What does that agenda look like going forward with now the House and the Senate? Are there things that you're going to be able to do that obviously you couldn't before? Does immigration come back up in a different form?
Well, Speaker Johnson and the White House and Senate Republicans are aligned when it comes to the things that we need to do. And some of them deal with the economy. That's taxes, that's regulations, that's energy dominance, and some of them deal with important issues like the southern border, which has been a disaster under the Biden-Harris administration. So we're going to look at, obviously, with a unified control of the government, House, Senate, and White House, there's a procedure, a legislative procedure called budget reconciliation that enables you to do some things that you otherwise probably wouldn't be able to do, at least not at 51 votes. And I think what we would hope to do is see if there are ways in which we could achieve some of the president's objectives on the border as he takes some executive actions. Some of those are going to need funding, whether it deals with the wall or whether it deals with deportations or any of those sorts of things. Manpower, we want to be as helpful as we possibly can helping him achieve that and look at as many legislative options to make that happen. And so we'll be having those conversations, and Speaker Johnson and I have already talked about it. We've been working on it for some time in the Senate through the various committees and trying to figure out what's the best way to accomplish as much of this agenda as we can, given the unique opportunity we have of a House, a Senate that are both in Republican hands and a Republican president, President Trump.
We'll hear more after this.
And just to spell it out, reconciliation under the economic issues would allow a 50-vote threshold for pieces of that immigration bill that deal with money and funding and that sort of thing.
So the Democrats use it extensively. They did the so-called American Rescue Plan, the so-called Inflation Reduction Act, all under budget reconciliation at 51 votes. And they put a lot of really bad policy in there, some of which we'll try and eliminate when we have the opportunity. But we think the scope has been expanded by the Democrats significantly when it comes to what is eligible for and could be considered under budget reconciliation and done in the Senate at 51 votes. Whereas under most circumstances, most consequential legislation in the Senate takes 60. So we're looking at those options right now, but I think it's a historic opportunity for this country, and we want to make the most of it because we think there's a lot that needs to be done to get the country back on track. And President Trump, when he campaigned across the country, these are the things that he talked about. And it's securing that southern border, it's strengthening our economy, it's making America strong in the world again, it's taxes, regulations, energy when it comes to the economy, and we're going to work with him as hard as we can and as efficiently and quickly as we can to get these things done.
Considering that win, that electoral win, are there things that Democrats will work with you on? Big things that maybe they wouldn't have before after this election? I
would hope so. I would think that the election results were an incredible repudiation of where they've been taking the country. And so it would strike me at least that Democrats, particularly if they have to run in 2026, might be inclined to help us on some of these issues. I think that's a possibility. I always hope that's the case. We'll find out soon enough.
The President-elect sent out a nice message congratulating you. Obviously, you've had a relationship over time. Where does that stand now?
Well, we have a good relationship. I mean, we're speaking regularly, and as I said, we are aligned in the things that we want to get done. And he's got a big agenda. He got a big mandate from the American people, and we want to help him achieve that agenda. And so we are in regular communication, and we'll continue that along with, as I said, Speaker Johnson, the President and his team, to make sure that he gets his team in place when it comes to nominations and when it comes to legislation and things that we can do to help him achieve those objectives. We are on board to make that happen.
This group set up to kind of look at cutting the federal government with Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy. It's not a part of the administration. It's kind of separate, but very close to. But a lot of what they do, one would think, would have to go through Congress. Is the Senate ready to really dismantle the federal bureaucracy like they're talking about?
Well, I think this is long overdue, honestly. And frankly, I'm excited because, you know, there is a very low percentage of federal workers who are actually back at work. There was one report not that long ago of a study that had done, it was reported on by the New York Times, that said only 6% of federal workers are back. You know, if that's true, there ought to be some real opportunities to achieve some savings. And frankly, for that matter, why do we have all these agencies and departments here in Washington, D.C.? They could be other places around the country because people aren't showing up at the office anyway. So I think there's a real opportunity here, some of which can be done through the president's executive actions, some of which may need to go through the Congress, again, which means you've got in the Senate. That's not easy. You got to have some Democrats. But I think people in this country are ready. They are hungry for a leaner, more effective, more efficient federal government that distributes power out of Washington, gets the control out of here, and back in the hands of the American people.
And finally, just back to those appointments. Do you think Matt Gaetz can get through?
Well, I don't know the answer to that just yet. I mean, obviously, as you point out, there certainly are some skeptics, but he deserves a process.
RFK Jr.,
like,
you think he can get through? Same answer?
They deserve a process, yeah. I mean, there are nominees that the president has put forward, and the Senate has the role of advise and consent under the Constitution. So they deserve a hearing, and we'll proceed accordingly if
and
these
if you were to
become official
bet
noms.
that would you have to do recess appointments? You're saying yes or no? Would you
Well,
say?
I hate to say yes or no because I think that's still an open question. My view is we want to do this the regular way and give the Democrats a chance to work with us on getting people in place. And the first ones that are going to come up are the national security, and I hope the Democrats will work with us on defense and CIA and NSA and some of those and state. But if they become obstacles and obstructionists to moving these along, I mean, we're going to grind them out on the floor of the United States Senate. I just said we're not taking any options off the table.
Well, Senator, thank you very much. Come back and we'll have another discussion as you get going.
Sounds good. Thanks, Brett. Good to be with you.
Listen ad-free with a Fox News Podcast Plus subscription on Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Prime members can listen to this show ad-free on the Amazon Music app.